Easter. Have you ever wondered why Easter never falls on the same exact day every year? Some years in March, then some years in April. What if I tell you you cannot celebrate Easter without the spring equinox? The spring equinox is when the sun passes over the Earth's equator into the northern hemisphere. Hence, the sun has spring into action, aka the season spring, because the sun was once considered dead during winter, aka Capricorn, because once the sun is in the Tropic of Capricorn, we have winter in the northern hemisphere. Religion is based on astrology. Here's why. On December 22nd is the winter solstice. Now, the winter solstice day can vary. Some years it could be early, and some years it could be late. But the tradition is December 22nd. And at the winter solstice, the sun is considered dead. It doesn't move for 3 whole days. Then on the third day, the sun moves 1 degree north, meaning that the sun is now risen, aka Christmas, aka Christmas, aka Noel, meaning no light, no sun. There was no light, there was no sun. On December 25th, the sun is reborn, aka Christ is born. So the sun now is moving back into action. Alright? It's moving back into the northern hemisphere, where it crosses over. Keyword there, the cross. It cross over / pass over Earth's equator into the northern hemisphere, where it's now springing into action and now marching its way into summer. Hence the month of March, which was in ancient time the beginning of the new year. It actually still is. So the Passover is when the sun passes over Earth's equator and into the northern hemisphere. Okay? And as we know, this is what the Jews celebrate. They celebrate the Passover. And the Christians, they call this the resurrection of God's Son. And to acknowledge this, they go out on the Passover and have a Easter sunrise service. Alright? They have a service waiting on the sun to rise. The S-U-N, that is. Why are you waiting on the S-U-N to rise if this has nothing to do with the sun? The S-U-N, that is. Let's go further. And if you want to do the research, you could research on the Romans and you could see where they changed the S-U-N into the S-O-N. Okay? Where they turn Starman into Aman. The Bible is the book of the stars, aka astrology. Okay? Because we live in a macro world. You are the stars. Alright? And the Bible is a book of the sun's orbit through the 12 houses, aka its 12 disciples. But let's go further. Now, Moses is synonymous with the Passover. As we know, Moses freed the slaves, right? Also, Moses is depicted as a man with horns throughout all depictions. Why is horns important? Here's why. The zodiac house Aries is present during the Passover. And Aries is depicted as a ram, rams of horns. And Aries is seen as a leader, okay? Because Aries freed the sun from being dead during winter. You can almost correlate that as a prison in so much words. And Aries freed the sun and put the sun back on his yearly orbit, okay? No different from Moses freeing the slave. And Aries is known as the head of the zodiac, okay? Aries is the brain of the zodiac, the star. This is why Aries is also in March and spring is in March, okay? Because the sun is now marching into summer, okay? It's now back on its yearly orbit. Moses is also known as a lunar deity, okay? One time ago, the Jews used to worship the moon. And horns also represent the crescent moon, okay? This is why them two look so similar. Now, why is the moon so important? This is why the moon is so important. Because Easter is celebrated the first Sunday that follows the first full moon after the spring equinox. You don't believe me? Let's look at history. In 2018, the first full moon after the spring equinox was on Saturday, March 31st. Easter was then celebrated that Sunday, April 1st. That's in 2018. In 2019, the first full moon after the spring equinox was on Friday, April 19th. Easter was then celebrated that Sunday, which was the 21st of April. Alright? Let's look at this year. The first full moon after the spring equinox was on Tuesday, April 7th. Easter is celebrated that Sunday, which is actually today, which is April 12th. And if you want to go any deeper, you could do the research. Check it out. Check out all the full moons after the spring equinox. And see if Easter isn't celebrated that first Sunday that follows the first full moon after the spring equinox. This is why Easter changes every year. Some years you may have it in March, then some years you may have it in April. See, the moon is so important because the moon represents life. The moon is the mother bearer to this earth plane that we exist on. The new moon represents new beginnings, new life cycles, and the full moon represents the death of that previous cycle. So this is why the full moon is so important before you celebrate Easter, because the full moon represents the death of that old cycle of the sun being dead. Now the sun is risen. It is spring. Also, we have to remember too, on Easter, the sun rises directly east and sets directly west. Now, why do religious folks eat fish on Good Friday? As I mentioned earlier, the Bible is a book of astrology. Jesus is a representation of the sun during its time in the age of Pisces. Each zodiac house is measured at 33 degrees. What astronomers did was they measured each zodiac age to see how long it would take to get out an age. Okay? And they came to the conclusion that it would take you 2,160 years to get out an age. A zodiac age, that is. Alright? So when you hear Christians correlate and say that Jesus was on earth 2,000 years ago, they are referencing to the start of the age of Pisces. Okay? Because we just leaving Pisces and going into the age of Aquarius, the water bearer. And Pisces is depicted as the age of the fish. Okay? It's depicted with two fishes. Hence, Jesus feeding the 5,000 with two fishes. This is referencing to the knowledge of the sun. The sun getting knowledge from Pisces, aka the two fish. And the sun is relaying information to the people, aka through its light codes. And light is information. No different from when you get an idea. Your brain lights up. Okay? And the neurotransmitters in your brain, they transfer that light to where it needs to be. Whether if you want to move your hands, the neurotransmitters send light to your hands to move it. Okay? Light is the idea. Light is information. This is why Jesus, the S-U-N, said that he is the light of the world. This is referencing to the overall idea of our realm that we live in, which is the sun, the S-U-N, that is. That's the overall light. And throughout the Bible, Jesus referred to himself as a fisherman. Okay? Let's look at some scriptures. Religion is wrapped around astrology. We live in a micro-macro world. As above, so below. You are the stars, just in physical form. And Easter is wrapped around astrology, aka the sun, the SUN that is. Continue to spread the message of truth. You are an infinite being, filled with infinite possibilities. You just gotta reach your higher self, as God is within you, not outside of you. You just got to connect to it. So peace and positive vibes, and know thyself worth.